You feel the freshness of new desire within you. You remember desire when you believed that that which you desired could be. Do you remember that feeling? We're looking forward to a return to that with all desire. We want you to feel a desire born, and we want you to not fret over its not yet fulfillment, but instead breathe in the life-giving air that the new desire is providing for you, because it is truly the summoning of life force. You knew it when you came forth. You said, this environment will be perfect, for it will stimulate ever new desire within me. And you knew then that each desire would summon source. And you knew then that the source would flow forth and that it would give you life. And you knew then meaning before you came forth into this body, that as the desire is born and as it is summoning source, that it is life itself. And that the eternalness that we are all talking about, the eternal nature of our being, is dependent upon that fresh new desire being born. Sometimes it translates in a little bit of a screwy way in your physical environment, because you feel the desire being born, and then quite often, because you are so accustomed to this time-space reality where you see the fact, you see the history, you see the manifestation, and you call that life. In other words, manifestation, our human friends call real life. Well, that's reality, that's real life. And so you are very eager, we have noticed, for an almost immediate translation of the desire into what you call real life. And we're wanting you to sort of ratchet that back just a little bit and start enjoying the desire and the feeling of desire and the feeling of the summoning of source that desire indicates, while you are anticipating the real life manifestation. But where you're not hanging all of your hopes and dreams on the immediate manifestation, because we promise you that if you could give birth to a desire and it would manifest immediately, and then you would give birth to another desire and it would manifest immediately, with no buffer, no opportunity to peruse, no opportunity to mold it into place, no opportunity to check your balance, no opportunity to stabilize where you are. If everything that you thought manifested, we would be holding de-manifestation seminar. You'd be saying, it's happening too fast, I'm not having time to savor, my life is piling up with every thought that I have. Please, is there not a dimension I could go where the buffer is more lenient? And we say, so here you are in this perfect environment where you have this buffer of time, where you have opportunity to give birth to a desire and settle into it, where until your desire feels natural and normal to you, until your desire is so practiced that it becomes your expectation, it doesn't manifest. How good is that? Until your desire, or whatever, we should add that, until whatever you are thinking about, sometimes it's not a desire, until whatever it is you're thinking about is not expected by you, it doesn't happen. In other words, you've got to expect it. You have to practice the thought enough that it becomes the normal beating of the drum, so to speak, before it manifests. So if you have desires that aren't happening, they haven't manifested, and you are noticing that they have not happened, where is it, you say? It's taking too long, you say. So the habit of thought that you have about this desire is more about where is it, what's taking so long, why does she have it and I don't? How come I don't have it? Am I not worthy? What's gone wrong? Where is it? How come it isn't here yet? Maybe I can take a seminar that will bring this lost thing to me. Your expectation is a powerful thing, isn't it? Your expectation is the practicing of thought, which equals the practicing of vibration, which equals your point of attraction, which equals what manifests. You just can't get around it. In this glorious universe that is based on inclusion, which is all about law of attraction, you just can't think and feel one way and attract and let in another. It just can't be. So, over time, those of you who've been listening to us for a while have heard us talking about being deliberate about your thought. We say you get what you think about. We say that you are the creator of your own reality. We tell you that Whatever you give your attention to causes you to offer a vibration, and whatever that vibration is being matched up by law of attraction. So what you think and what you feel and what you live is always a perfect vibrational match. And then we see you beginning to worry about your thoughts, because you say, oh, I get what I think about, and I have not been thinking some very good thoughts. And so now I'm a little worried about the thoughts I've been thinking. Cancel, you say. You try to suck the thought back in before law of attraction gets hold of it. And then we say, oh, dear friends, you have this buffer of time, and you say, oh, that's good. No, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's good. Oh, no, that's bad. You can't decide how you feel about the buffer of time. You would like it shortened. You would like it lengthened. I would like a long buffer of time when I'm thinking about things I don't want, and a very short buffer of time when I'm thinking about things that I do want. In other words, could I be the one exception in all of the universe, and can I just think however I want? Will you just give me what I write on this list? I'll just make you a list of things that I want, and just don't pay any attention to my point of attraction. Never mind what I'm doing vibrationally. Just give me what I want. My mother did, to a certain extent. She seemed limited. And so now we say to you, pay attention to the way you feel, because the way you feel lets you know what your point of attraction is. And for the most part, those of you who come to gatherings like this are living very good lives. The range between what you want and where you are is not so dramatic that you can't find your balance. Most of you are really fine-tuning. Most of you understand that when you want something and it hasn't yet manifested, that all you have to do is talk more about what it is you want and why you want it, and find the feeling place of having it, and practice the feeling of what it's like to be the liver of it rather than the one who is absent of it. And before you know it, it has made its way conveniently and easily and often amazingly through corridors that you did not see coming into your experience. The range of your emotions is an interesting one. We want to talk about it a little bit here today, because your emotions are your indicator of your point of attraction. And they indicate two very important things. Your emotions indicate how focused your desire is. The longer you focus and the more specifically you focus, then the more precisely you summon the energy. If you have a hose with a big wide opening, you have a different spraying experience than if you narrow it to something more specific. And of course, the more volume of water that's flowing through the hose affects the distance with which it sprays and the power of the focus of the water. And the way you focus your desire is not different from that. The amount of desire you hold, in other words, how long have I wanted that, has to do with how much energy you summon. And how specifically you focus your desire has to do with how specific that force or that power, that energy that creates worlds, flows toward your desire. So that's one factor. The other factor is, once you're summoning this energy, what are you doing about letting it in? And that's the focusing too. In other words, when you really want something and you don't believe it, you're summoning it, but you're resisting it. So now it's like you've got this powerful hose that is focused, and you've got something blocking the spray, which is causing it to squirt all over the place. It's not allowing you to put it where you want it. And so things aren't turning out the way you want them to, and you can't figure out why. And we say the focusing mechanism is about wanting and allowing. It's about wanting and then bringing yourself into alignment with what you want. Now that's easy to understand. You know about focus. You focus cameras, you focus water, garden hoses. You get the sense of this focusing. So now we want to talk about your emotions in general. And we want to help you to remember that the better you feel, the more in alignment with your desire and with who you really are, you are. And the worse you feel, the more resistance you are introducing. You are extensions of source energy, and when you are allowing a wide open valve, when you are really allowing yourself to be in vibrational concert with who you are, the energy flows through you comfortably and you feel wonderful. And under those conditions, the more powerful your desire, the more energy flows comfortably through you. In other words, you can create castles or buttons. It does not matter what your object of attention is. when you are wide open to the energy, summoning it through the power of your desire and not resisting it through contradictory thought, you are powerful beings. And that's who you are. That's what you planned to do when you came forth here. Not because this world is broken and needs to be fixed, but because you are creative genius, and it is great fun to identify your own personal desires, beat the drum of them, get your vibration going about them, summon toward them, and then watch the universe in all of its cooperative forces align circumstances and events for the fulfillment of your desire, because you are genius creators worthy of anything that you can conjure. If you can identify a desire in this time-space reality, it is our absolute promise to you that this environment has the ability to fulfill your desire to the specifics that you are able to identify. There is nothing that will ever go unanswered, ever. When you ask, it is always given every single time. So in this range of emotions, there is this ecstasy, this passion, this love, appreciation, this really being who you are, the natural state of you. And then on the other end of it, there is that disempowered, sort of lost feeling. So the most connected state of being that you will ever achieve is that feeling of all power. It's that feeling of being blessed, adored, worthy, and wanting. It's that feeling of whatever I am wanting, I have the ability to achieve. You are freedom-knowing beings. And on the other end of that emotional, vibrational spectrum is the feeling of powerlessness. So those emotions feel like grief. They feel like betrayal. They feel like powerlessness. Now, it's an infinite range. You could call your range of emotions a lot of different words. Really, we would like to help you to realize that there are only two. One feels good and one feels bad, and there is everything in between. And we want you to begin to realize that in these words or states of being or moods that you call emotions, there are vibrational ranges of allowing or resisting, that as you pay attention, you can tell where you are along that vibrational range. So sometimes something will happen in your environment to you or to someone you care about. And as this thing happens and you focus upon it for a while, you feel strong negative emotion that we would call the opposite of that empowered, worthy feeling that is really who you are. And that emotion you might call grief. It's that sort of emotion where you can't get any air. You feel suffocated. And so some bright, shiny, well-meaning student of Abraham sees you in your depression and points out to you that you are the creator of your own reality, and that depression is going to get you nowhere, and you should shape up. You should seek joy. And what you'd really like to do is just take a gun and kill them. Because hard as you try, from that depression, from that strong disallowance of who you really are, in that vibrational funk that for whatever reason you find yourself, you do not have access to ecstasy. You don't have access to passion. You don't have access to appreciation or to joy. You don't even have access to irritation. You don't even have access to overwhelmment. In other words, from that deep vibration, any more than when you turn on your radio, you can hear a song played that is being broadcast from one frequency while you've got your tuner set to another. In other words, it just doesn't line up. There is no connection. So when you are in that strong disconnection and you are trying to follow what Abraham says, which is find a thought that feels better, the best thought that may be available to you from your depression is one of rage. And what we want to say to you here today in a way that you really, really hear it is that if you find that thought of rage, and if you stew around in it for a little while, you will notice that you feel better. Now, those watching you from the outside are not going to encourage you into your rage. They liked you better when you were depressed. Because when you were depressed, you sort of went away and left them all alone. Only you know that the rage is an improvement, because only you know that you can breathe now. Only you know that this is an improvement. And what we want you to hear is that if you know that it is an improvement and you stop and momentarily pat yourself on the back for choosing the thought that felt better to you, and If you are able to disregard the clamoring of all those bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, sunshine, rainbow, lollipop, sickening people that are tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and who want you to be too, if you can disregard what they're clamoring at you and say to yourself, wait a minute, I feel better, then in that moment you've got your power back.